Welcome back to the Superheroes Everyday Podcast. I'm Danny Horn. I am here with Sloan, the creator of the Hauntwares clothing line. Hello, Sloan.
Hi.
And this is Act 3 of the 2007 Nick Cage nightmare, Ghost Rider. So this is where we're at. Escaped mental patient Johnny Blaze is experiencing perplexing and painful visions of Mephistopheles and his snotty little son Blackheart, who are telling him that he has to find the legendary contract of San Venganza, which is a bunch of words that don't seem to mean anything in particular, or else they will harm his super hot on and off girlfriend, Roxanne. So now Johnny has to set himself on fire and then race across Texas to reach this shitty little ghost town where he will give the contract either to Blackheart or to Mephistopheles, or he will refuse to give either of them the contract, which is what he's planning to do, in which case I don't know why he's bothering to go there in the first place. All right, so let's saddle up for Act 3. First up, Johnny needs to get that contract, which everybody's saying is hidden in a graveyard, which naturally has to be the one graveyard we've seen in the movie where Johnny's mysterious mentor hangs out. So this is Johnny's third visit to this play space, but this is the time that he is self-actualized enough to say, I'm going to dig up this whole place to find the contract. And the caretaker, he takes the shovel and he slams it against a tree, and the shovel breaks, and it turns out the contract was hidden in the shovel the whole time.
Because what better hiding place?
I knew it was somewhere.
Grave digger's shovel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so he smashes the head of the shovel off, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he uses that shovel, I would assume, as a regular grave digging shovel the rest of the time.
Yes.
So wouldn't the structural integrity of the shovel be really compromised if it was hollow enough to put a scroll in?
That is a really good point. He might have gone through several shovels by this point. It's been a long time, too. No, you're probably right. He probably has to replace that shovel all the time.
A scroll shovel.
So he's not sure. He's not sure about handing this over to Johnny, but Johnny says, you have to trust me. He may have my soul, but he doesn't have my spirit.
Ugh.
And I'm like, tell me you're not going with that line. Tell me that's not final draft.
You could say that about 90% of this movie.
Yeah. So they've had a whole bunch of conversations, but Slade finally asks why Johnny sold his soul and finds out that it was to make his father better. And he is very impressed by that. So he hands over the contract. He says, San Venganza is 500 miles from here. We better get moving. And then
Wait a minute. If he asks, wouldn't he have? He knows everything else about Johnny. Why did he have to ask him why he sold his soul?
That's a very apt question.
It's almost like this movie script had some holes in it.
It's almost like it didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
And then there's a horse approaching in slow motion.
Yeah.
And the caretaker says, I got one last ride in me. He gets on the horse and he puts on his cowboy hat and he flames up. And Johnny gasps. Gasps. And he says, Carter Slade. And it's like, yes, obviously, Carter Slade. The entire audience figured that out weeks ago. That's Johnny. That's where Johnny's at right now. And then let's ride.
If he had been able to, like, if he had the intelligence to make that connection, he wouldn't be in this situation in the first place.
He wouldn't have said yes to be in this movie. And so now it's a motorcycle and a horse riding across the desert together, both of them on fire. And they're playing a rock version of Ghost Riders in the Sky. And they pass an iguana. This is the best moment in the film. They pass an iguana and it bursts into flames.
I felt so bad about that.
I love that.
Why did you have to? Why? That's the little lizard. He wasn't doing anything. He just sitting on a rock, minding his own business.
It is the goofiest possible thing that could ever happen. And I love that iguana. He's my guy.
And the wind blows its poor little skeleton over. Oh.
So the two of them get across the desert. Takes a full minute of screen time to travel to San Venganza.
That's 500 miles.
500 miles. And then he turns back into Sam Elliott. And he's like, okay, gotta go. What?
That was he said, like, I had one ride
time.
left.
Yeah.
Do you have like a set number of transformations as a Ghost Rider?
Apparently you do.
Is it like a woman is born with all the eggs she'll ever have in her life?
Yeah, he's all out. It was just this. And he says, like, I could only change one more time. I was saving it for this. And it's like, but you didn't, you just rode up to the doorstep. And now you're like, okay, gotta go. Bye. Like, I'm not gonna help. I'm not gonna go into San Venganza. I just wanted another road trip. And that was it.
And it's also like I've gotten my Ghost Rider powers turned on.
Yeah.
Why does he have to turn them off and let Johnny do this on his own?
I don't know.
Is it's got to be some other kind of like toxic masculinity honor thing.
All right. There is one more plot token for Johnny to collect before he sets foot in San Venganza. He has to fight the water guy. So he is moving through this spooky space where there's just like a thick layer of smoke on the ground in a way that mist doesn't work. And I don't know why movies think that it does.
It's spooky. For a movie with ghosts in the title, there hasn't really been a whole lot of just straight up spooky shit. And they really got to make up for that.
I was wondering what you think about this scene, because it does seem
I totally understand why you wanted me to be on for a movie with ghost in the title, but
Yeah.
like I was listening to the Morbius episode and it was just like, oh, I could have talked about bats.
Oh, that's true. I already used it up. Anything you want to say about bats?
They're awesome and I love them.
They are awesome. That is true. But this spooky fake forest is not really. I know it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it had to live up to the rest of the movie.
Yes. And then all of a sudden, springing up from the water on the ground that is not there, like all of a sudden it's Wallow. And he's like a mean merman creature with big spiny teeth. And
that's what everybody is in this movie.
I know.
You're either a regular human or you're a toothman.
Yeah. And he just grabs Johnny and pulls him down into a dark water tank on a film set.
Yeah.
And tries to strangle him. And Wallow screams and his face gets all weird. And it's a slice of life drama is what this is. This is a new step in cinematic social realism. And the way that it is resolved is, guess what? He turns into Ghost Rider. And he's all flamey. And even under the water, he is all flamey and he burns up the water.
Well, I mean, we established that he can be on fire underwater during the whole bridge scene.
Absolutely. And so this is one of those situations where you can burn somebody to death underwater.
You can boil someone to death.
Is that what happens?
I like to think so.
Very well. All right, I'll accept your interpretation. Next up, San Venganza. Johnny rides into town, and it is a piece of crap. Just these big stone brick structures, totally abandoned. Does not actually look like there was ever human habitation here. There's no houses, there's no businesses, there's no like old tricycle left on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's true. It looks less like an abandoned ghost town from the Old West as it does like Roman ruins.
Yeah,
ruins.
It's just like these big dark structures, Aztec ruins or something. But no ornamentation, no light fixtures. It's kind of like, it's no wonder this town descended into chaos and damnation. Like, get a plant. Liven the place up a little. What is the matter with you people?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's how you know it's the most evil
town
in the universe, or whatever the hell they said earlier.
They just hated this crappy town they live in. Johnny gets off his bike, and there's Blackheart, and he's got Roxanne, and there is going to be a scrap. And then is the worst goddamn thing. Blackheart says, "You change, she dies." And then there's a zoom into Johnny's eyes, and then a zoom into Blackheart's eyes.
That was really dumb.
Unbelievable for an actual professional movie made in 2007.
Yeah.
How do you
I don't even know, like that. That's not even. Nothing else in the movie had that tone. It was like it's like a kung fu movie.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That little kung fu movie zoom in, but like there is barely even any like fist fighting.
Yeah.
Which is another comment I've got in a second, but go on.
Yeah, and so it makes me wonder, like, there were grown-ups at Columbia Pictures, though. Columbia Pictures is like a grown-up movie studio. Somebody should have said something.
I have a little theory behind that.
What is your theory?
I think that when the executive was handed the script for Ghost Rider,
Yeah.
he just he knew that it was going to be a Nick Cage project. So he glanced at the cover and he misread it as Goats Rider and thought that it was going to be like he thought it was going to have like a Raising Arizona vibe.
Right. And so he just took he took his eyes off it.
Yeah, he's like, I think we can get some goats.
We can do this must be an easy movie. Riding a goat.
How much better would it have been if he was a
If he
goat
had
rider?
goats, that would have been really
Yeah.
good actually. Yeah, flaming
Just
goat
galloping across the desert at 200 miles an hour on a little
on a
goat.
flaming goat. Oh,
I want to see that movie.
that sounds good. So Johnny has the contract. He's waving it around. He's telling Blackheart to leave Roxanne alone. So Blackheart kind of just like pushes her and she goes flying and falls down somewhere and loses consciousness because she's a woman.
Like everybody in this movie has an indestructible spine.
Yes. Yeah, because you're right. She's gonna get up again. Yeah, and he kind of throws her up against a boulder or something.
Yeah. But that's kind of like every superhero movie. Every person in every superhero movie can be thrown into a concrete surface and leave an indent and then just be fine.
They're indestructible. This is the indestructible Eva Mendes. Johnny holds out the contract and Blackheart puts his hand on it. So now they're both holding it. And then Johnny flames up and he turns into Ghost Rider and pow!
That was great.
Punches Blackheart right in the kisser.
I loved the little slapstick tug of war they had for a second. And Blackheart's like, wait, what?
You want to give it another percent for that?
Half.
All right, get half percent. And so now, first they have like a fist fight, and then Ghost Rider kind of throws fire snowballs at him.
That was another thing I didn't get. Like it had already been established that Blackheart couldn't be hurt by his fire.
Yeah.
Because he has no soul to burn or something. And
yeah.
But he can do it now by throwing dirt at him.
Well, it's not dirt, it's fire. It's kind of like there's like these little patches of fire around, and he leans down and he picks up a handful of fire and he throws it like a snowball. And he does that twice.
And it's like, I don't.
What are you doing? Yeah.
Why isn't he just throwing fireballs from his hands like he can do?
And then there's the most amazing shot. Johnny looks, the sun comes up, but it looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Did you notice this crazy shot? Yeah. I can't even describe it. Like, it's kind of like if it's the Columbia Pictures lady holding the torch. Like, it's that kind of background. Like, if that was the sunrise, that's how the sunrise looks.
And I mean, I think they wanted it to be like majestic or awe-inspiring somehow. That this or like
and it just ended up looking like a cartoon or something. And I'm just like, Mark Steven Johnson, how do you not know how to film a convincing sunrise? Like, that seems pretty.
I think we both know the answer to that.
That seems pretty basic, though. He just cannot get these things right. And then Blackheart wins. Ghost Rider's running out of time, kind of rattles his chain at Blackheart, and it doesn't work. And so Blackheart like flips him over, and he falls into the sunlight, and he turns back into Johnny. And Blackheart is very, very pleased with himself because he's done a very clever thing.
Yeah.
Now he's holding the contract. He looks at it. He announces, "This is the contract of San Venganza." And then he waits, like he's trying to think of anything else that he could say. And then he screams, "All of you, come to me!" And all the evil spirits, all these dirty, skull-faced smoke monsters just start flying out of the walls. And they all go into his mouth, which is amazing.
Well, I mean, I guess we should be glad that that's where they went into versus...
Blackheart, he seems actually a little bit alarmed. He sort of like backs away, and they're all just like hopping into his mouth and down his throat. All these little ghosts and ghoulies and things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he thought this was going to go down. But this is not, he was not prepared for this.
That would require any being involved with this movie, from the cast, the crew, to the characters, to have thought about anything.
Anything at all. Yeah. So there's spirits all over the place. They're just leaping all over. Roxanne gets up and she goes to Johnny. And then we see Blackheart's final form. He is standing there with all this spooky dust swirling around him, and he opens his eyes. And they are bright blood red.
Yeah.
And he's got all the fangs that he could possibly have. And when he talks, It is with the echo of 100 ghosts.
And it's also incredibly slow.
And slow. He says, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And that is what's happening with Legion. We have to call him Legion now instead of Blackheart.
Do we though?
See, that would be literally dead naming.
Score.
So that's what we're doing. Roxanne's with Johnny, and she just wants to leave. She says, like, Legion's got what he wanted. Who the fuck cares what happens to San Venganza or Legion or Mephistopheles?
That is a really good point. Like, what? Well, I guess if he did say that they were going to like lay waste to the cities of Earth or something that.
I don't feel like there are any stakes at all in this film. I don't believe in Legion and his I'm going to take over. His I'm going to take over every city plan sounds a lot like we're just going to jump on this bike and ride away.
Yeah, and he also lost his henchmen, so
yeah, it's just him.
Own?
Yeah, well, them, I guess.
Yeah.
But Johnny has a plan. He is going to maneuver Legion into the shadows so he can still be Ghost Rider.
Which also doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Right, because it's supposed to be night and not just like
time-based.
Dim. Yeah, it's just dim.
He says that, like Yoda very clearly says earlier on that during the day, not in the sunlight.
That is true. But if you can get into the shade, when you are in the shade, he says, and there are evil spirits around.
You're in Texas. It's nicer in the shade.
It is nicer. So Roxanne picks up a gun and she shoots Legion and she blows his head off.
This was
which I liked.
So great. I'm just like, so if you could just shoot him,
he's all splattery
with a gun.
Yeah.
Like there was no indication these were kind of magical bullets or
nothing. Yeah.
A werewolf or anything.
It doesn't work.
No.
Because he just like regrows his head. But like Roxanne's trying to be helpful. She is participating and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Roxanne throws Ghost Rider the gun and he points it and it turns into like a flaming Ghost Rider-y shotgun and he shoots Legion with it too.
It turns into a boomer meme gun. Yes.
And then Legion like completely explodes. And then all the little ghoulies come out of the walls to help. It's like all his little woodland friends are coming to their aid. And so Legion puts themselves back together. But Johnny's figured it out. How does it feel to have all that evil inside of you? He says. All their power, all their souls, 1,000 souls to burn. Look into my eyes. Your souls are stained by the blood of the innocent. And then he does the penance there.
But he's not looking at the souls that are in him. He's looking at Blackheart's deeds.
Legion's like pretty face. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
it feels like Ghost Rider wins on a technicality here. But you know what? It's an ending.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with that. So there's a long CGI moment where there's just like fire and people screaming. And finally, Legion's eyeballs just turn to ash and Ghost Rider throws him on the ground and he just kind of flops over.
You know what's great about that whole sequence where he's doing the penitent stare? It's just a recap. There's nothing new in that moment. It's just everything Blackheart did through the movie.
Yep.
Like, so why couldn't he? I'm trying to put meaning.
Oh, because that's stuff that Blackheart did. Yeah, but we couldn't kill Blackheart. We couldn't do the penance on Blackheart. So now I don't know. That's a real good question.
Does he have or do the souls act as like a
the souls are like
placeholder?
They're like kindling. That's like the fire starter. Yeah. Okay, we are getting real close to the end of this movie. Roxanne believes, now that we've taken care of that this is a good moment for them to get all romantic, which I kind of don't get.
Yeah.
She gets real up close and she touches Ghost Rider's face and he turns back into Johnny and she kisses him. Because seriously, nothing bothers this girl. She is always ready to go.
Didn't she say, though, like she's seen it all?
I guess she really has.
Just before she said she's seen it all just before she didn't believe him.
Yeah, before she left. But now, seriously, nothing bothers her.
Yeah, I guess maybe she has seen it all by now.
Right, this was it. This was the one thing that she still needed to see.
The last thing she needed to see.
Now she really has just seen it all, and she's just like, let's make out. The devil shows up. So here's Mephistopheles, and he says, you kept your side of the bargain. It's time I take back the power of the Ghost Rider. Let someone else carry this curse. You're free now.
Yes.
And Johnny says no. For some reason.
Or I
couldn't say.
Nothing about that makes sense. He does not like it.
Yeah.
Why he could have exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, which is take this away from me. And this is, yeah. He points a burning finger at the devil and he says, no, I'm going to own this curse and I'm going to use it against you. Whenever innocent blood is spilt, it'll be my father's blood. And you'll find me there, the spirit of vengeance, fighting fire with fire. And
I think it was just an excuse
for Nick Cage to point.
No, for him to get out of the scene. Just for him to he spent his entire adult life with next to no responsibility whatsoever, and I would assume he's gotten used to it.
Yeah.
And now Roxanne has come back.
Oh, you're right. And all of a sudden, I gotta go get a job. Yeah, huh? Interesting. A job that's gonna.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's gonna.
I can't imagine she'd be super happy with him staying as a stunt writer.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep the curse to exact justice. Yeah, that's it. So I can run around on an awesome flaming motorcycle, kicking bad guys' asses. Nothing fun about that.
Yeah, this is a happy ending. Like, there's no reason why this movie should have a happy ending, but they have one anyway, where they're back at the tree and Roxanne, the absolutely perfect fantasy figure, she is totally supportive of his stupid hobby.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm sorry, we're not going to get engaged. We're not going to have a wedding. I'm just going to go away somewhere and I expect you to wait for me. And she's like, yeah, this is your destiny. Like,
well, no, at first she's like, why does everything you have to do keep us apart?
Yeah. And he's just like, well, that's how it is.
Yeah. When you're a ghost rider.
Basically, this movie says you can get a boat and a gambling addiction and you can lose all your money in crypto. And this gorgeous woman is actually going to agree that your bullshit hobby is your destiny and it's good for the world. And even if you have to go away and live in crypto bro world and trade NFTs and you only come back once in a while to have sex, like that is totally okay. She will always be there for you.
I mean,
unbelievably accommodating.
She also doesn't have to put up with him either.
That is true. That is, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, she is kind of at the end. She's like, okay, bye.
They're kind of both dodging a bullet.
Yeah, kind of waving. Yeah, it's probably good for both of them.
Yeah.
One thing that is a problem with this happy ending is that he is extremely famous and very recognizable, and he is responsible for many deaths.
And he's going to be responsible for more stuff.
He burned up at the very least. Like, they put Johnny Blaze in a jail cell, and he burned everybody up and walked out. Like, he's a wanted man still. He needs to go to Doctor Strange and ask for like a special spell to get everyone to forget. Because literally everybody knows he's the Ghost Rider.
Or at least knows that he's Johnny Blaze.
Yeah.
You know?
And from what we've seen, when people know that you're Johnny Blaze, they instantly just want to kill you.
because they didn't get to see you die. Yeah, everybody just wants him dead.
Yep.
They go to his shows because he might get killed.
I know, it's all they want.
And then they feel like they've been conned because they didn't get that.
Johnny kisses the girl and he drives away. And that, my friend, that is how legends are born. Sometimes they're true. You want to talk about toys?
Sure.
Let's do that. It's not a kid's movie at all. I can't imagine what children would find worthwhile in this terrible movie, but they made action figures anyway. Because of course they did.
I will say that is not necessarily uncommon because they've made action figures from objectionable movies forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, RoboCop had figures.
That's true. That's a good point.
Terminator has figures.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I think the miscalculation in this case was making them of a terrible movie and nobody would want to buy the figures.
Well, I am actually impressed. There are 8 figures. 4 of them are Ghost Rider, and then the other ones are things that hardly exist. So they made the Caretaker. They made one for Sam Elliott with a skull head and a flaming projectile launcher.
Oh, but they didn't make. Did they make a Sam Elliott head that you could pop
I
on?
don't think so. I think it's just with it.
Oh
I know that's a
man,
shame. They made Blackheart with a double missile firing blaster, which is not a thing that Blackheart had in any way.
no.
Also, it's Legion now, and that's very insensitive. You're looking
I'm
at.
looking at the Ghost Rider figure now, and it doesn't look like
Are you looking at the
Nick
bad one?
Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like Nick Cage as much as it looks like just some random guy going, "Oh, the what?"
Yeah, there's 4 Ghost Rider figures, and 3 of them have the skull head. There's Fireblast Ghost Rider, there's Raging Ghost Rider, there's Flame Fist Ghost Rider, and then there's Chain Attack Ghost Rider. And Chain Attack, that's the figure we need to discuss. I sent you a picture. This picture is going to be the art for this episode, so people can see the episode art. You'll see this terrible figure. It honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a worse action figure in the entirety of my life.
I mean, the Ghost
Everything.
Rider head has flame emanating from it, but instead of making it look like it's in flame, they just had it looks like he's wearing a clown wig.
There's that. I'm actually talking about the one that's supposed to look like Nick Cage.
I don't think it looks like him. I think it
It
looks
does
like a
not.
guy. I think it just looks like a someone who's not Nick Cage with the expression.
Yeah, it's like the stupidest. Oh, that does come with the clown wig. You're right.
Yeah.
It comes with that clown wig skull head. And then his joints are
Oh
like
my
these
God.
huge, they went nuts with the like what do you call
The
it? With
ball
with
joints.
yeah, all the ball joints and the articulation. They went nuts with the articulation.
Yeah.
And so he's got these big ball joints on his shoulders and then his legs and
Yeah, it's like I'm looking at
fingers.
where the legs, where the top of the thigh connects
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
pelvis, and it's just the ball joints are totally exposed. They're
Yeah.
just his thighs end in giant spheres.
Yes. And his elbows are the same and yeah, it's just like articulation is not that important.
Also, the Nick Cage head is tiny.
Yes.
And it's not like you snap the Ghost Rider head on top of it. You take the Nick Cage head off and put the Ghost Rider head on.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have made it like a little teeny tiny head.
Yeah.
Nothing about this movie was successful. And by that I mean it was not successful
in any way.
Box office.
Yeah.
Its merchandise was a failure.
And it didn't make us happy either.
Well, I mean, I had fun talking about it.
That is true.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why this is a pivotal moment in superhero movie history.
Yes, please tell me.
All right. The key thing is that this was 2007, which was just a year before Iron Man and the Dark Knight. And the mindset about superhero movies changed dramatically. So as of a year from now, people aren't really that interested unless it's part of a larger epic. They did manage to make a Ghost Rider sequel in 2012, which was the same year as the Avengers, which is not the time.
Did you want to see?
Not the time that you want to put this out. And so Ghost Rider got 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then the sequel, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, got 18%.
Oh.
And it only made $52 million. Which is pathetically small. Like that was the year that the Avengers got 623 million.
Because it was very entertaining and good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Ghost Rider was Ghost Rider. And so the thing that's interesting for me is that at this point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we're like into phase 5 now. They're picking up a lot of obscure Marvel characters. They're doing like Moon Knight and Ironheart, and they're developing a Nova show. They even did Man-Thing. They did like a Werewolf by Night special.
I loved that. It was excellent.
I did too, but like they're bringing in Man-Thing, and they're not touching Ghost Rider. As far as I know, it has not even come up as a possibility.
They haven't talked about a movie, and I think it's because they had Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I don't think that's why.
he wasn't a completely. It was either Agents of Shield or Inhumans. I know
Mhm.
Ghost Rider.
It was not. It was
technically
not
dead.
Inhumans. I watched all of Inhumans, and he was certainly not there.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
It's beautiful.
Uh, but I think that's where he belongs. He belongs as a tertiary
Agents of Shield.
character in a
Yeah.
TV show.
So I wonder if this demographic is just not appreciated by studios anymore. This is a very boy movie,
Yeah.
and like definitely as of Avengers, like they don't do just boy movies anymore.
No.
Whereas it's a superhero movie that's just like the thing that Kevin Feige figured out is like, wait, no, we could just do like, oh, it's like a violent Pixar movie,
Yeah.
basically, with hot people in it. And it should appeal to as many people as possible. And so this is kind of like a last gasp for superhero movies that are aimed just squarely at guys with no appeal for women at all.
I don't even necessarily know if it's that. I think it's the fact that they got people who care about the characters to make these movies.
And nobody cares about Ghost Rider.
Nobody cares about Ghost Rider, but not only that, the people who made it were just seeing the success of other superhero movies. I have already forgotten the name of the director of Ghost Rider, but he just doesn't care.
Mr. Mark Steven Johnson, he really apparently does not. It's very like that'll do.
Yeah.
You know, it's just when they were like, well, people don't have standards for comic book movies. Like that's about to change, and you know, the next year is Iron Man. But while they're making Ghost Rider, they're like, well, it's not like these movies have to be good. You just put them out. Sloan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
Such a good time. Where can people find you in the world?
So primarily you can find my stuff on hauntwares.com, haunt, HAUNTWARES.com. And you should go there because I have lots of shirts with skulls on them.
Yes.
That aren't boring.
And they are super fun and funny. And some of them are super scary and spooky, and it's gorgeous. I love them. For more comedy about the history of superhero movies, you can go to the blog at superheroeseveryday.com. If you like the show, please leave a review, or you could reach me on Twitter, on Facebook, or on the blog. It would be great to hear from you. And please spread the word about this show. Please tell the people in your life. Coming up in the next episode, Stephen Robinson from Wonkette and the Playtyper Guy will join me for a supersized Ultimate Edition episode talking about the 2016 Basket of Sadness, Batman and Superman, Dawn of Justice. He takes a bat-shaped branding iron and burned his logo into the guy's shoulder. So obviously he's working directly for like Warner Brothers licensing at this point.
I'm glad that Corleone whacked the bad mobster, but he's still a mobster. So that itself doesn't make me feel like I'm all on Team Corleone.
Then he goes back upstairs. He has a little scene with Clark where they are both pretending that they're not famous cartoon characters.
Alfred is having a stroke that requires speaking in movie trailerese.
Why do you need to test new machine gun bullets? Machine guns already kill people about as effectively as we need them to. Why would inventing a brand new bullet contribute to the experience of being shot by a machine gun? All right, get excited for that and come back next week for the Superheroes Everyday podcast. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.
This is the end of the trail for me. I got nothing left. I could only change one more time, and I was saving it for this.